Now, Claudia Jones, who Andrea had given a report on just earlier, wrote about this in Political Affairs in 1945. And I just want to quote very briefly, and then I want to wrap this up. Jones said in an article in Political Affairs in August of 1945, criticizing the revisionist character of the party under the leadership of Browder, culminating in the line that became dominant during World War II. Jones says that, quote, it is extremely necessary to examine thoroughly how our revisionist conclusions under the name of Marxist-Leninist science affected our work in all fields, so that we may now draw the correct conclusions with which to address the working class and all oppressed in our country for full victory over reaction and fascism. Jones quotes Browder when he wrote in October of 1943 that, quote, the crisis of history has taken a turn of such character that the Negro people in the United States have found it possible to make their historic decision once and for all. Their decision is for their complete integration into the American nation as a whole and not for separation, unquote. Browder continued by saying that the decision of the Negro people is therefore already made. It is that the Negro people do see the opportunity not as a pious aspiration for an indefinite future, but as immediate political task under the present system of approximately the position of equal citizens in America. This is in itself an exercise of the right of self-determination by the Negro people. By their attitude, the Negro people have exercised their right to self-determination. This is what Browder's position was in 1943. Jones then raises the question related to this revisionist line. She says that, quote, on what premise that the Negroes had made their historic decision, unquote, was based on fundamentally. Was it based on a fundamental appraisal of the present economic, political, and social status of the Negro people in the Black Belt? Or was it based on a pious hope that the struggle for economic, social, and political equality of the Negro would be, quote, legislated and somehow brought into being through reforms from on top? So this was an ongoing struggle that took place inside the left during the 1940s, 1950s, all the way into the 1960s. Even with the development of the Fourth International, founded by Leon Trotsky, there was continued discussion around the question of self-determination and the African-American national question. C.L.R. James, who's one of the most well-known Africans from the Caribbean nation of Trinidad, became a leading theoretician within the Trotskyist movement during the 1930s and 1940s. James wrote numerous articles on the African-American national question between 1939 and 1948. In essence, what James said was that the African-American struggle had its own independent character, and that Marxists and socialists had to recognize that character. And if they did not recognize that character, they would make a grave error in terms of trying to build a revolutionary movement in this country.
And that's a fact.
Now, even though James made his break with Trotskyism between 1948 and 1951, he would go on to champion the Black Power movement in the United States. In a speech delivered in England where he resided in 1967 entitled Black Power, James praised the new generation of leaders in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, foremost among them Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown. James said, it is over 100 years since the abolition of slavery. The Negro people in the United States have taken plenty, and they have reached a stage where they have decided they are not going to take any more. Who are we to stand, or rather to sit in judgment over what they decide to do or what they decide not to do? I want to talk in particular of Mr. Rap Brown, who makes the most challenging statements, is prepared to challenge American racial prejudice to the utmost limits of his strength and to the strength of the Negroes who will follow. In the 1960s, with the upsurge in the student movement, the civil rights movement, that culminated in the formation of the Black Panther Party and the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, these organizations accepted socialism as a political goal and political objective. Now, since 1975, the world capitalist system has undergone tremendous restructuring, which has undermined the strength and character of the working class in the United States. These changes have rendered millions of African Americans and other workers unemployed and in low-wage jobs with no future for advancement. Since 2007, some 8 million workers, many of whom are African Americans and Latinos, have lost their jobs, lost their homes, lost their pensions, and lost their health care benefits. The current crisis in capitalism appears to be terminal in the sense that even the major ideologues of the system voice no optimism in regard to reemploying the millions who are out of work. And it's quite interesting when you watch these people on CNN. They say, well, the economy is improving. When they said, well, you know, is the unemployment rate going to go down in 2010? Maybe not. We may have to wait to 2011. So, in essence, even the ideologues of the capitalist system itself talk about a jobless recovery, which is no recovery whatsoever. How can you have an economic recovery without jobs? It's totally absurd. You know, it's just outrageous to watch these people. Now, since 2008, through the work of the Moratorium Now Coalition in Detroit and the Bail Out the People movement nationally, a program of struggle has been developed which takes into consideration the terminal crisis of capitalism and the need to fight for a socialist future. Socialism provides the only viable solution to the current collapse of the economic system. Moratorium Now has boldly called for a complete halt to all foreclosures, evictions, and utility shutoffs. It has demanded that the government create a jobs program to reemploy tens of millions of workers in good-paying jobs with health benefits.
That's right.
The coalition has linked the growing Pentagon budget of over $800 billion annually and the bank bailouts to the tune of trillions of dollars directed to the growing impoverishment of the working masses in the United States and around the world. Knowing that the capitalist system in the U.S. state that is beholden to the banks, the insurance companies, and the industrialists cannot create jobs or economic opportunities for African Americans, for Latinos, and for workers in general, the Moratorium Now Coalition has gone to the workers themselves to call for their independent organization to win these goals and to move the struggle to the next level, which will culminate in the creation of a society devoid of all exploitation of people by the oppressive system. With the capitalist and imperialist systems in terminal crisis, there is no solution in either the Democratic or the Republican Party. The workers and the oppressed must build their own political parties that will organize and struggle without compromise to win back the wealth that the working people have created over the centuries. It is within the course of this ongoing and intensifying struggle that the only real hope of overcoming unemployment and poverty will be realized. Thank you very much.